It's just more private companies moving in to address the truck parking while, the government isn't really doing much right now.
Tyson, good to see you.
Nice being here.
Let's jump right in here, starting with a middle finger to truck drivers in Palm Beach, Florida. This story has a lot of ins and outs. But basically, we've got the county telling truck drivers there that they can't park their own trucks in a community known as the Acreage. I think I got kind of the points there.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about this?
So this has been going on for more than a year. And so this is a town in Palm Beach County, Florida, as you pointed out, called the Acreage. And they've been debating truck parking on residential property for quite a while now. That debate has finally come to an end. So basically there has been a ban on truck parking in residential property for forever. But it's one of those situations to where the town never really enforced it, and truckers have been living there for decades. And it's just been quietly understood. It's like, yeah, you can do that, right?
Yeah.
But within the past year, I'm not exactly sure what happened, but people started complaining. It started to get enforced. It sparked this debate. So recently, the county commission they voted unanimously to change that ordinance. And what they did do is, so previously there was a weight limit of 12,500 pounds. They increased that to 16,000 pounds. So that still falls way short of any Class 8 vehicle.
Just a tad, yeah.
So it essentially keeps intact that that truck ban on private residential property. So that kind of ends the debate, kind of. So the rule doesn't go into effect until July 1st. That delay was given so that a lawyer for two truckers who live there can file a lawsuit. So the county commission was basically told, you do this, we're going to sue you. And so that lawsuit hasn't been filed yet, but they're kind of leaving room for that to happen. So, but the thing is, it's not completely over for truckers who live in that town. So the county commissioners, they're asking the county planners to find out what can be done to keep current truckers who live in the city, to keep them in the city. And so the commission, they expect to review those proposals in May. So the city planners are going to figure something out. I don't know what, but those proposals will be reviewed here in just a few months. So yeah.
These are always tricky for me, at least, because I understand if you're in a residential community, you may not want a big tractor trailer parked on your street. I understand that. The thing here is that they've been doing it looks like, for quite a while now. And I guess the question becomes, where do you want them to park?
Right.
And if there are options there, I don't know. There may very well be nearby options, but I mean, they've got to make some accommodations, you would hope and you would think, for these folks.
Right, and that's exactly what the city the county planners are going to do. They're going to look at possible zoning changes for truck parking lots and see if that can help with them. So, at one point, there was one commissioner who was kind of on the side of truckers, tried to carve out an exception for two 80,000-pound trucks on each lot. Mm-hmm. That got struck down. That same commissioner, Sarah Baxter, she even tried to grandfather in existing truck drivers. So if you've lived in this city for, all your life and now this is happening, doesn't apply to you, struck down also. So there were some attempts, there were some people on the side of truckers, but, alas, here we are. So.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. As you mentioned, it looks like this is going to follow some legal challenges here. Legal challenges will follow, but we'll keep an eye on this one. Again, that's one kind of middle finger to truck drivers. Here's another one from the other hand, I guess, in Illinois, in the city of Crystal Lake, where we've talked about this. A local trucking company was trying to expand. They wanted to expand. They went through all the proper channels to get that done, but residents in the city there have basically said, no, you can't do it.
Yeah, this is another basically NIMBY case, not my backyard thing, to where, the city council, like about 100 residents showed up, a big, spectacle and whatnot. So, long story short, recently the Crystal Lake City Council denied NVA Transportation's bid for that expansion. That expansion for a freight terminal called for, it was more than 300 truck parking spaces. So, it was, fairly significant. So with that said, this transportation company, they've already spent like more than $600,000 on the plan. So they were pretty literally invested into this happening, and they even made accommodations to please the city. Usually when you're making these plans, you talk with the city. They'll tell you, we don't like it because of this, and you make concessions.
Sure.
I mean, they even eliminated like 50 truck parking spaces to please the city. But
it wasn't enough.
It wasn't enough, unfortunately. What's really unfortunate about this is that this denial comes despite traffic, environmental, and home value studies all finding that the expansion would not have significant effects on the area. So this is largely NIMBY driven. And so, it wouldn't surprise me if there was a lawsuit that came out of this also for unconstitutionally being denied a permit, which I have seen happen several times before. Don't know if that's going to happen, but I'll be keeping an eye out to see if that does happen. But this is just 45 miles northwest of Chicago, and anyone who drives near Chicago knows it's parking and is needed in the Chicago area.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that you've got so many people there too. I think they had a petition that had something close to like 2,000 signatures on it. So quite a bit of pushback there. And I think one of the stories that I saw out there was somebody saying that, hey, we like your company. We think you're doing good stuff, but we don't want you we don't want you growing. We don't want you growing here, which I mean, what do you say to that?
What can you do?
I don't know. Yeah. So we started off with a couple stories, maybe not so great for truck parking. This one, a bit more positive, out of Surprise City, Arizona. They did have an issue there with illegal truck parking, but instead of just kicking trucks out, they have a solution in mind.
Yeah, so this is kind of a good news, bad news thing, but this is mostly positive. So the city council in Surprise, Arizona, they recently voted to expand the truck parking ban in residential areas. So there was previously, the truck parking ban was only for residential areas. That's been expanded to all city streets and right-of-way. That goes into effect March 21st. All right, so that's the bad news. Mm-hmm. Rather than just do that and say and wash their hands of it, it's like, well, that's done.
Good luck.
Nope.
See you later.
The city is providing truck parking at 3 roads located in commercial and industrial areas. So in total, the city of Surprise will supply 40 truck parking spaces, which based on their studies, that basically accommodates 80% of the average truck parking demand in the city. So, I mean,
good.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. So this is a quote from one council member, Chris Judge. He said, "I'm glad that we went through this. I've talked to some of our other neighboring cities, and they passed an ordinance and washed their hands of it and said, you can't park anywhere in the city. Just go away."
We've seen that so much.
Most of the times, that's what we see.
Yeah.
The assistant city manager, Tracy Montgomery, she told the council, of all the cities that are limiting truck parking, we know of none that are actually going out and providing alternative locations for trucks to park. I think that's significant because it sends a message that you all want to send. We don't just want to send you away. We want to give you a place to park. And so this city really gets it for the most part. This is the way to do it. And the thing is, this isn't free for them. It's free for truckers. By the way, this is free truck parking. It's going to cost the city more than $100,000 a year to maintain. So, but the thing is, the city's finding the way to make it work. Mm-hmm. They're kind of rearranging their budgets and saying, all right, things can be shifted. We can pay for this. It's fine. We're going to give these truckers a place to park. I mean, this is something that we don't see very often that we need to see more of. And this is just, I think it's a nice model that, other cities can follow when they're dealing with their truck parking situation.
Yeah, and Surprise is not a small city either. I mean, that's a relatively big city that, as you said, recognizes the issue here and is doing something about it. So it's refreshing to see that. Let's move on to an interesting concept out of Bucks County, Pennsylvania in Falls Township, which is considering a regional truck stop. What's this about?
Yeah, regional truck stop is a word that I understand. The word that they use, I thought was very interesting, is a freight village.
Sounds fancy.
It does, doesn't it? So Falls Township supervisors, they just unanimously supported a study to basically determine the viability of a 24-hour, again, this is a quote from them, freight village support facility. So another word for it's regional truck stop. It would serve as a place for long-haul truckers to park their vehicles and sleep overnight. So we're talking long-term overnight truck parking. It would also include a variety of amenities, and this is where the village part comes in, which is I found interesting. Those amenities would include banking, medical, retail, and truck repair. So,
okay,
yeah, I know. So it's more than just a truck stop. Like,
park and stay a while.
Yeah, right.
Sounds nice.
The only thing that truck drivers might be a little hesitant about, and I've heard this criticism in other parking facilities, is there will be a weigh station for police officers who do vehicle inspections. That would be part of the facility as well. I know some truckers will say that this is a trap. It's typically really not the case. I've talked to many, state departments, and they emphasize that no, they're not just going to do random inspections. It's just, just the way that it's just business, basically.
Yeah.
So, but that being said, this township, they recognize that in this region, there is a huge demand for not just freight in general, but consequently for truck parking and the truck traffic that comes with it. And so rather than just ignore it, they're just trying to do something about it. So again, this is just a viability study to see if this will actually work. There's no really details known, exactly about how many parking spaces or where it would be. But I'll keep an eye on this to see where this viability study goes, and hopefully in the future we'll see this pretty cool concept called a freight village.
A freight village, yeah. I mean, this is something that if it is successful and it isn't too overbearing for the county there, maybe we'll see it elsewhere.
Nice.
And we'll see what happens there. Let's move on here real quick to a plan. We've got a private company here. They've got a plan for converting abandoned sites into paid truck parking. We actually have spoken about this on the show before, several months ago, but I don't think we've talked to you about it. This is an interesting concept.
Yeah, I should have the name of the company in front of me.
Contrade Holdings.
Thank you.
Yes.
It just completely slipped my mind. So, I recently talked to, I think it was the owner of that, and a lot of good things to say about this. So basically what this what this company is doing is they want to build more truck parking spaces across the country. And one way of doing this, and it's not the only way, but one way they're looking at is converting abandoned drive-in movie theaters to truck parking facilities, essentially. So this is based in Texas, and from what I understand, they haven't built any yet, but they are looking to build soon in the state of Texas, and then basically just expanding from there. What you need to know about this is that it is paid parking. But with that being said, free truck parking comes in two forms: rest areas and truck stops. Truck stops can only build so much. Rest areas are bare bones parking, Everything else is going to come down to paid parking, which is fine, especially when this company wants to provide several amenities, including showers, laundries, possibly restaurants. And so, again, this is something that they're looking to do across busy corridors in Texas. I think he said from there, maybe looking from Georgia and just expanding. But it's just more private companies moving in to address the truck parking while, the government isn't really doing much right now. Yeah,
it's going to take a village, as we've talked about before, and this is certainly one thing that could be considered. Tyson, a pleasure as always. We encourage people to check out your work at landline.media and in every issue of Landline Magazine. Thanks again.
Thanks for having me.